Good evening, and we thank you for joining us in our Easy Chair Chats tonight. And I do want to tell you about a couple of things. First of all, a lot of you have been asking about the Lord's Supper. And so we are looking to observe the Lord's Supper the 1st of December. I don't have a date yet. We are doing it a little bit different in the fact that we are ordering the cup and the wafer are all in one. And so what you do is you take the first seal off and you've got the wafer. Then you take the second seal off and you've got the juice. And so we are ordering those. And when we get them, then we'll go ahead and plan it out. Another thing has been, how many to order. What we will do is we will have it on a Sunday morning. And I will actually teach the Lord's Supper for the actual message. And then we will go ahead and allow you to leave, or you can stay for the actual Lord's Supper. And so that's the way we're going to do it. It's going to be a little bit different. I have never done it in a worship service. Never, ever done it in a worship service. So, boy, the things that we're going through. Right. I've always done it in an evening service. It's just more quaint, and it's more of our people, if you will. And so I've always done it in an evening service, not in a morning service. But we will be doing it in a morning service. So anyway, I will let you know by next week. And excuse me. And I will also, if you're there, it'll be in the bulletin, and we'll make sure we really get the word out for this. But yeah, we haven't had I do not believe we have had the Lord's Supper this year. I don't know. I didn't look to see if maybe we had it in January, February. It had to be January, February, or March. So anywhere in there. And it would have been in March, I believe. But anyway, we closed up in March. And so that's that news. And of course, we are continuing everything to open different ministries. And STARS, you have your first meeting next Thursday. So next Thursday, 11:30, STARS, you can come back. Some of you are anxious. Some of you are saying, oh, I'm not ready yet. I just don't. And that's fine. That's fine. But for you that are anxious, for those of you that want to get together, STARS will start next Thursday, 11:30 in the fellowship hall. Wear your mask, and we will distance you as much as possible. And we are going to go ahead and then start it. So there'll be December as well. And then we'll continue in January, as things allow. Okay? All righty. And what do you have for us today?
Well, as I said to you just a little earlier, that I'm not exactly clear for sure about what, but I thought, hey, just now, I thought, how nifty is that?
How nifty is that? And it's nothing new, by the way. A lot of churches do it. It's just that you have to buy these.
Right.
They're not super expensive, but they are not on the cheap side.
Right. Yeah.
And then you also run into the problem, I shouldn't be saying this, but you run into the problem of, how long has this stuff been sitting there?
Well,
I'm sure it's got
an expiration
some
date
expiration date or something, but that's why we kind of stayed away from it, because that's always been
if the
for me.
expiration date was like several years ago, it might be fermented.
It might be fermented. We might have people a little loopy by the time they finish communion.
Oh, goodness.
Which in a lot of churches, they're loopy when they finish communion.
Well, I don't know about loopy, but they...
it's not really the fruit of the vine anymore.
That's right. They don't understand it to be the fruit of the vine. But anyhow.
Go ahead.
So, no. I was reading this morning in Proverbs chapter 15, and Proverbs chapter 15 has got so much and everything in it, but in those first few verses, I think it's maybe like around verse 3 or something, it talks about that a soft answer turneth away wrath, And anyhow, I was thinking about the many different slogans there are today, that such and such matters and such matters and such matters. And I was thinking, I'm going to create a t-shirt and it says, words matter. And I'm going to put Proverbs 15:3 on it. And I'm going to start a revolution.
Why not? Everybody else is.
No, but in that, and it's interesting how God inspired the writer to talk about how soft words, and that sort of sets a tone. There's, and we know. We know, in fact, I've got to tell you a story about a person that I knew one time. And this person would take my words and they would say, well, they would take their own words when, I would say, and they'd say, but all I said was da 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 da. And in a court of law, that doesn't mean anything. It just means da 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 da. Well, the truth of the matter is, later on, I really learned that communication is a lot more than just the words that are said.
So they were taking your words. I lost you.
Okay. Can I be explicit?
Yeah.
Can I use names?
No, you should not use names.
Okay, I will not use names, but it was a husband of mine.
She's only had one. Well, okay.
When we first got married, do you remember this? It would be, for instance, this is the one I remember. I remember serving dinner, and there's a whole story behind this. But it was one of the first dinner meals that I served as married. And I brought the food to the table. And I'm not going to mention any names, but it was a person that we all know and love.
Well, I'm glad you love.
Said, is that it? Now, there was a face. There were facial features. Is that it? There was a tone. Is that it? Now, if we just put the words down on paper, is that it? Question mark. We'd say there's nothing wrong with that. But my feelings were hurt. Do you remember that?
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And I was hurt because that's all the money we had to do what we could have. And yet that was all there was. Now, I realized later on that in his family, that his mother, would do the soup and then the salad and then the main course, which had several elements to it. And then she would have the dessert. We didn't have enough money to do that. If we were having soup, that was all we were having. If we were having a salad, that was all we were having. And we never had dessert. And I just remembered thinking, is that it? That's about as much as I could do with, like hardly any money. And not realizing all that was behind on his side of the story. But this is where my feelings were hurt. My feelings were hurt not necessarily in the words, but it was the look on your face. And it was the tone in your voice, not the words. And that's what in Proverbs, that talking about a soft answer. I'm not saying that with you, because I learned later that he was not saying like, is that it, man? What's the matter with you? That was not what he was saying. He was wondering, is there more in the kitchen that's coming? I just took it wrong. But the truth is, that there's so much to language, isn't there? And language is more than just the words we say. It's how we say, and it's the intent that we say. Somebody could say something or ask something, and then after they say it, they realize, oh my word, you know how I was doing that? I was doing it in a critical spirit. And then they feel guilty about it or whatever, So a soft answer turns away wrath. And it talks about that the words are like the healing, and I can't remember the exact scripture, but it's still in that Proverbs chapter 15. And as I was reading, they were saying that in the Hebrew, that is like the calming and the almost like a medicinal thing is that, so in other words, that we have opportunities often to provide a healing in our words.
Very good, yeah.
And a calming in our words.
Right.
And I think we all probably these days, no, I shouldn't say these days, we've always, and we will always, no matter what, need some understanding. And we will always need people that are going to turn away wrath just by giving a soft answer. And we know we're not ignorant of the fact most of the time that the way that we're speaking is with a certain intent. And we know when we're being snippy and snappy and trying to like show you something. And we know when we don't have to do that. I don't know. To me, I guess I've just been thinking so much about how many people have spoken and how encouraging. And let me tell you, he's the best ever. He's the best ever. That was just one of those things that it just really hit me. That they were really not bad words, but it was everything put together. As well as my own situation.
Sure.
As well as my own situation of thinking.
You've done your best.
I've done my best with nothing hardly, And, so a lot goes into it. But, how important words are and how we can break or break or encourage someone. And may we all be encouragers and not breakers,
Because when we first got married, I was still going to school, and I was carrying a full-time job and school, and it was tight. I mean,
very
more than tight. And money was not. I mean, we really had to watch our pennies.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Yes, I remember those days.
Oh yes, I do too. I remember them so very well.
But I'm glad you bring that up. Not about what I said. I didn't have to be reminded about that. But about words and everything, because of the fact that we are living in a time when people are so stressed.
Yes.
And people are so I guess stress is the best word for it, that sometimes we can be aggressive in our speech and aggressive in the way we come, and it's not really because we're intending to necessarily on purpose. It's just that times are difficult, and we're upset. We are at that place where we just we get snappy, and that's something that we all need to really watch out and really make sure that we don't let the flesh take over and take it out on everybody, innocent people, because we're mad at the situations that the world is in and that everything else is in. So yes, we do have to watch our words, and we do have to be careful about our attitude with those words. And that's good. That's very good. So a good point to bring out a good point that we can all meditate on. So thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
And thank you for joining us tonight. And we are going to let you go now. But again, remember that we are going to be informing you more on the Lord's Supper, and we are going to be having stars. So don't forget that. That'll be next week. All right. All right. Lord bless you. You stay safe. You stay healthy. And we love you.
Yes. Bye-bye. Love you.
Bye-bye. Love you.